It's April 22nd, 1989, and we're here for the dedication of the J.A. and Anna Smith Park. It's a beautiful day in Kitsap County, and this marks the end of a substantial amount of work by the Kiwanis Club of Central Kitsap and the Parks Department. With me is Larry Cody. And Larry, I understand you've been involved in this from the beginning. Probably the first question is, who is J.A. and Anna Smith, and how did the park start?
Well, Anna Smith was an elementary school teacher who retired in 1964 from Tracyton Elementary School. It was her wishes when she passed away to dedicate this park for the benefit of children in Kitsap County. And Kitsap County received this property in 1985 from the estate of J.A. and Anna Smith.
And since that time, it's been developed into a park, I understand.
Yeah.
Maybe the best way is to start by just looking at it, so let's take a walk through the park and see what it has to offer.
Okay, Warren.
Larry, I understand there was a grant involved in getting this park going.
Yes. Kitsap County applied for what's known as a ALEA grant, which stands for Aquatic Lands Enhancement Account grant, through the Department of Natural Resources.
And that's to give the public access to the shoreline.
Yes, the main thrust of that grant program was to exactly make public access to shorelines in the state. And this was a number 2 project out of about 5 projects that were funded in 1986.
Okay. I understand that the state grant was matched in kind by the local community.
That's right, Warren. The Central Kitsap Kiwanis Club became involved with the County Parks Department right after we received the property from the estate. And it was their wishes to pursue this for Anna Smith and make her wishes come true. And therefore, in order for us to get the grant, the community participated in building this park with their efforts in materials and labor, and matched the state grant to 50% matching.
So the state grant was for?
The total amount was for $30,800, and the community, basically through their efforts in labor, materials, donations, matched that with approximately $30,800.
Okay. A beautiful area, an open space here. Larry, maybe you could tell us a little bit about how this was developed.
Oh, sure, Warren. The Central Kitsap Kiwanis Club, again, in their efforts, got the Navy Seabees to come in here and construct this pond and help. Also, a private contractor did mostly the digging.
Okay.
And that's how it was accomplished. It was designed, the actual specifications for the pond were designed by the Conservation District, an engineer from the Conservation District.
And we're also looking, I guess, up the hill here at a Master Gardener demonstration area.
Yes. The Master Gardeners were looking for a place in Kitsap County to create what they call a demonstration garden. And they approached the Kiwanis Club and Kitsap County Parks Department, and it turned out to be very good soil conditions for their needs, and they also have included a children's garden to complement the park and be utilized by the children.
Okay. Well, let's continue on and see some more of the park. We're coming into an area, I guess, where they're making the last-minute preparations here for the ceremonies today.
That's right.
And we have a kiosk here that was built by
a Boy Scout.
Oh, is that
Eagle
right?
Scout project.
Okay, do you recall who that was?
His name was Sean Lampier.
Okay.
And he's ready to put the finishing touches on it, looks like.
Okay. Looks great.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah. We're going to continue on down to the beach here. Well, on our way to the beach here, I see that we have a new restroom facility in the park also.
Yes, this was one of the major items that was constructed through the grant process. It was also a combination of volunteers and the Parks Department personnel to erect it.
Okay, well, it's certainly a necessary part of any park.
That's right.
Continue on to the beach. We're walking down a very nicely paved path, and I understand that was a donation.
Yes, Warren, this was donated by the Ace Paving Company.
It certainly makes it easy to get down here. Larry, I understand you designed the park. What's the basic concept that it's working towards?
Well, the park was designed around the idea of education for children. The master garden area up above, the demonstration garden, is an educational feature. The pond itself is intended, or hopefully, to be used for biology students. The amphitheater here that we're coming up to hopefully will be utilized for many activities. Slideshows will be able to be given here. Any nature type talks, just contemplating the view.
Okay, well, it certainly is. Let's go down and look at it.
Okay.
I understand the amphitheater was built with volunteer help.
Yes, Warren, it was built by an Eagle Scout. This was a major Eagle Scout project. I believe his name is Jeff McBride. Forgive me if the first name is not correct.
Okay. Well, he certainly did an excellent job on this for a young man, and it's an impressive setting, isn't it?
It really is.
I understand on a clear day as we look out, we would be able to see across Dyes Inlet and actually see the Olympic Mountains above the ridge over there.
Correct.
What a wonderful place to come with a class or a group of students. What other possible uses were foreseen for this area?
Well, I really hope that there are volunteers out there that are willing to have storytelling, puppet shows, nature talks. We're able to run a cord down here, and we could have some slide shows in the evening.
What a lovely site for that. Well, let's continue our walk to the beach. As we come down this trail, I see that there's been some identification done here of different plants, certainly consistent with the educational.
Yes, I think the Master Gardeners has been doing a little work here.
Looks like it. When you started this, I understand the trail was really quite primitive.
Yes, it was, Warren. The Parks Department put down a base of gravel, and then there were two Boy Scouts, Eagle Scouts, that worked on this project. The latest was a scout named Chris Corey, who put down the beauty bark, which makes for a nice, pleasant, quiet walk, and we don't scare the birds or animals. And down here, we have a retaining wall that was necessary because the trail was washing out, and that was done by Jeff Harden.
Good. You mentioned that there was a retaining wall, and that's quite an impressive piece of construction, isn't it?
It really is. We really did a good job, man.
How was it to get down here before that?
It was very difficult access. Thanks to Jeff, now we can have easy access to this beach.
Well, it certainly has made an absolutely beautiful trail to come down to the water.
It's definitely a quiet walk.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, this morning, an eagle flew by.
Oh, is that right? We're coming down to the beach area here, and I see that there's a small picnic area that's been created.
Yeah. These picnic tables were constructed by another Eagle Scout. His name was Dwayne Hott, or is Dwayne Hott.
Okay.
He was. Another scout recruited by the Central Kitsap Kiwanis Club.
So there's certainly a lovely table, and again, just an absolutely beautiful setting for a picnic.
Really?
Well, this is certainly a gorgeous panorama of Dyes Inlet, and it must be one of the few access points for the public.
Yes, Warren. It's, I believe, one of two major access points to Dyes Inlet. The only other one I can think of is Silverdale Waterfront Park across the bay.
You can see why this will be of great value to the community.
Yes, it certainly will be.
We're a little bit farther up on the North Beach here, and this appears to be an old fire pit. Is that right?
Yes, Warren. This is one of the features that we discovered in development of the park. Apparently Jay Smith constructed this some time ago, and we'd like to preserve it and utilize it when we open the park.
So this will actually be available to people on a cool day to come down and have a little warmth here at the beach.
Exactly. We have a little wood storage down the beach here, and hope it'll be utilized.
Good. We're looking out now towards the north limits of the park and looking at portions of the old bulkhead, I guess. I understand there's quite a bit of work done down here to get this ready.
Yes, Warren. In the middle ground there, you see some firewood that's left over from the clearing of the trees for the amphitheater and the view towards Size Inlet. There's quite a bit of work to do down here yet. There's been a lot of work done that you can't really see. There's been a lot of cleanup effort by the Kiwanis Club down here in this section.
This is the real labor-intensive part.
Very labor-intensive.
Let's go down and look at the South Beach for a minute.
Okay.
We're looking at the South Beach area, and I understand that the park actually goes as far down as where some of the trees are laid out into the water. Is that right?
Yes, it goes another couple hundred feet, Warren.
And what kind of uses do we foresee for the beach here?
Well, sunbathing for one. It's a fine gravel beach on the upper section of the beach. The Olympic high school marine biology class has used this beach for the last couple of years already on an appointment basis.
So it continues to have an educational feature to it also?
It certainly does.
Okay. Well, we're getting close to time.
Hey everyone. My name's John Kuntz, and I'm the president of the Central Kitsap Kiwanis Club. And the Kiwanis has been the sponsors of the Anna Smith Park. We've kind of put the whole thing together with the county and the executors of the will. And today we're going to have the opening ceremony for the park. And the ceremony is going to actually be a Kiwanis meeting. So we all get to be guests of the Kiwanis Club today. As we know, Kiwanis is both men and women organization. So I'm going to ring the ceremonial bell, and that means we've opened the ceremony. Okay, the first thing we do is face the flag and do a Pledge of Allegiance. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now we sing My Country 'Tis of Thee. Do we have a volunteer that can carry a tune?
Okay. Well, this occasion is the culmination of a remarkable amount of effort. And it's just wonderful for me personally to see you all here enjoying the park that Anna Smith wanted us all to enjoy. It must be probably 4 years ago that there was a picture in the Bremerton Sun of Randy Hatfield, who was Parks Director at the time, with Rosalie Colton, walking this property. And the announcement was made that the property had been left to the county by J.A. and Anna Smith on the understanding that it be converted into a children's park. Now, one of the many goals of the Kiwanis Club is, through its community service, to work for children. And there happened to be at that time an emphasis on children's activities within the international organization. And one of our members, who unfortunately isn't here today, Jim Klein, spotted this article in the paper and identified it as a project that was one that our club should undertake. We discussed this at the meeting and decided it was something we should certainly look at, because we knew that there is not a lot of funds in the county budget for parks. Unfortunately, parks are not as well funded as we'd like to see them. and we knew that there would not be a lot of money available to develop this property into a park. We looked into the terms of the will, and the will did state that within 3 years this property had to be developed as a park, or the county would lose it and it would go to the state for similar uses. We didn't want to see the county losing it, so this is where we stepped in. We had a series of meetings with the Parks Board, putting our ideas to them and listening to what they had to say to us. And as a result of that, it was agreed that we would work with the county to assist them in developing the park. We were a small club, or we still are a relatively small club. Our membership now is about 32 members, I believe. At that time, it was probably around 22. And to approach 7.5 acres of property with 22 members is obviously a somewhat gargantuan task. So we knew at the time that this was not something that we as a club could do on our own, and it would have to be a community project, bringing people in from all over the place. So we identified our role as coordinators to the project, obviously coming down here and doing work on our own. But it was going to be something that essentially we were going to have somebody else do all the work, and we were going to sit back and take the glory. It didn't quite work out like that, but generally speaking, things came together much as we had hoped. Some of the early stages on this, and this is how I got initially involved, was taking the property and working through the county planning processes to get the necessary permits to enable it to be a park, to change it from a residential zone to or to authorize the use as a park within the residential zones. And we were well supported by the county commissioners through this process, and we worked very closely with Larry Coty in the Parks Department here, and despite what I said in the newspaper last night, I didn't totally design the park all by myself. Larry Coty did a lot of the work on that too. We worked with him. We obtained the necessary consents to turn this into a park, and once that was cleared, we were able to get moving. Well, we were very fortunate in that at that time there became available some grants from the state for, I think it was called an Aquatic Lands Enhancement Grant or something like that. But the essence of this grant was that money would be available to improve access to the waterfront for the public. And we felt that this park was ideal, an ideal candidate for that grant, because with the parking areas, the trails, work on the bridge, the information booth, the trail down to the water, this was very much public access to waterfront, and we applied to the state on this basis. So I say we, again, this was mainly done through Larry Coty's efforts over at the Parks Department. Again, we helped put together the materials. We got voluntary contributions to provide the matching activities to the funds that we will be getting from the state. We put this together as well as we knew how, and to Larry's credit, this came through and we were successful. And we had something in the region of $30,000 worth of grant aid from the state, which has gone into items like the restrooms back here, very essential facilities, and some contribution to the cost of some of these other items that you're going to see around. That was the financial side of it. The physical side of it came from the efforts of so many people in the community. It's impossible to identify everybody. A lot of you I can see are here. We've had tremendous support from the Scouts locally. Fortunately, there's a lot of Scouts who want to obtain their Eagle Scout badges or status, and there were some ideal projects here for that. The booth behind me is one of them. The amphitheater you'll see down here is one. Work on the trails constitutes another. There's a beautiful wood retaining wall. If you walk down to the beach, you'll see a wood retaining wall down there. That was built by one of the Scouts. We've had a lot of contribution from private organizations in the area, people who've donated time and materials to various aspects of the project. Lumber being provided, plumbing assistance being provided, painting assistance, people laying concrete, people doing perk tests, so many of these things done for free or at very, very reasonable prices. So from all spectrum of the community, we have had tremendous support, and this park couldn't have got here without it. And it sounds kind of weak, but thank you very much. And welcome. Welcome to the park, and I hope you'll all tell everybody about it, get people down here so that it's enjoyed. Thank you very much.
She's executrix of the will, and she's going to tell us a few things about the Smiths and anything else she'd like to say. So, Rosalie, would you please come up? She, first time I asked her to talk, she said, well, I only take a minute. And then she got the invitation and saw that she was on the remarks, supposed to give remarks, so then she called me up and said, can I take a few more minutes? I said, well, okay, I guess. Thank you.
Adjust the microphone.
Sure. Good point. We'll get this down here a little bit. How's that? Too low? I don't want you to have to stoop over.
I suppose I should say, can you hear me?
Okay. There you go.
Mr. Kuntz, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, neighbors and friends, and particularly the little children. I don't have the advantage of that the presidents do to have a ghostwriter or have a podium where you can't see the notes or a reader board. But I hope you'll bear with me. And if I'm shaky, it's not because I'm nervous, I'm cold. When Mr. Kuntz called me, if I'd speak for 5 to 10 minutes as a representative of the state, I commented he would be doing good if he got 1 or 2 minutes out of me. Public speaking is not my tea, or cup of tea. When I noticed on the agenda that 40 minutes were given for the Kiwanis and the estate and the county, I decided the true representative of the estate, Anna J. Smith and Ferdinand Joe Fair, deserve more consideration than a minute or two. All of you here who have worked hard to make these opening ceremonies possible indeed deserve words of appreciation. I thank each and every person who has had anything to do with the establishment of this children's park, the commissioners for accepting the property for the county, the parks manager and his assistants, the Central Kitsap Kiwanis for taking on the project, the master gardeners, and all of the volunteers. I'd be very remiss if I did not mention the lawyer who made me feel that Anna and I were in capable hands, and he got us over each stumbling block that came along. My husband, Claude, deserves special mention. He was a true helpmate to keep weeds and new growth from taking over the estate and settled until the estate was settled, and through the job of getting things ready for the auction and the cleanup afterwards. Also Millie, who had been caring for Anna for some time before her hospitalization. She agreed to stay on and was tremendous help with the final phases of the work. How did I get this privilege of being here to represent the estate? Not my personal desire. Due to a skiing injury, I had doctor's orders to do a lot of walking. It got to be a habit to stop in and have a cup of coffee and a tidbit with Anna. This particular morning she called me and requested I'd stop in. I sensed she had something on her mind. She took no time to inform me that she needed to rewrite her will and wanted me to become executrix. She poured me a cup of coffee with not any of the real sweet goodies that she often had. And when she said she had Mrs. Illich's Scotch shortbread, I think all of you, quite a few are familiar with Mrs. Illich. This is no remark against Mrs. Illich, but I couldn't help but say, you sure brewed me a bitter cup of coffee. You better give me another teaspoon of sugar. I stressed her duty belonged to her brother Fred or sister-in-law Zoe. She said she had enlisted but didn't believe they could do the job when the time came due to their health and age. I said I'd call her in a few days with a yes or no. About a week later, Claude urged me that Anna deserves the courtesy of a yes or a no. which I did, and I specified to put me down as a certain line. And came the time when she was in intensive care in the hospital. She said she didn't think she would make it, knew Fred and Zoe wouldn't do it, and urged me to go to the bank to have Mrs. Gordon prepare the papers for me to be on her checking account and safety deposit box, and gave me the name of the lawyer to contact when the time came. The Smiths were married in Clarkston in 1928 and went to San Francisco where Jay worked in the garage. They purchased this property in 1930 and moved here in 1931. At the time they purchased, there was a dance hall up here in the corner near the driveway coming into the property. They enlarged the house, dug a full basement, and did considerable landscaping. They were avid gardeners. For a while, they had a greenhouse for raising tomatoes. I'm not certain where it was. The plot says it was down in this area here. They also had a miniature greenhouse in which Anna raised large chrysanthemums. Anna was fond of roses, azaleas, and rhododendrons. She was a charter member of Silverdale Garden Club and the Kitsap Audubon Society. Jay had bird houses in various locations, and bird feeder was in close view of the little dining table. Occasionally, a bald eagle was seen in the area of the creek. Ducks would nest some years, and a stellar jay gave her much joy when it built its nest in the ivy outside the front window. Jay would occasionally have the creek made deeper to keep it running, to keep bog or swamp from forming. After Jay died, Anna tried to keep the alder under control across the creek by having it cut or removed each year. But she finally gave up. The young man she had to cut the alder is here this afternoon. They were very fond of each other. Her last effort to keep the place from being taken over was to rent it to people with riding horses. Anna had much pressure put on her during the years after Jay's death in 1971 that she sell all or part of her property. Friends urged her to go into a retirement home, and her brother Fred wanted her to go to Clarkston to live with him. Her last 2 years were worrisome, not pleasant, and she'd say, God willing, I'm going to stick it up right here. She and Jay had a mutual wish to give the property to the county for a park for children, and that was her goal. Jay retired before Anna. He put the bulkhead the entire length of the property almost single-handed. Anna was teaching at Tracyton Elementary. When the bulkhead was finished, he served notice on her to retire, as they were going traveling, which they did. The Smiths were born in Clarkston, married in Clarkston, and are buried there in her family plot. There's quite a little tract of land in the cemetery called the Fair Addition, donated by the family. I've come to the conclusion that it has been an inherited characteristic of this family group to be philanthropic. And that is why Anna was so insistent in her property go for enjoyment and betterment of children with whom she spent so many years. She willed what money she had left to Fred and Zoe. I'm sure she would have been pleased, if they had no use for it, to have given it for maintenance of the park. I do know they gave money to individuals who needed a windfall and to organizations and causes which would have pleased Anna. Zoe died about 6 months ago in a convalescent home in Seattle and is buried in Clarkston. Fred will be 90 on his next birthday. I hope he makes it so he can have his drink of Irish whiskey, which he now has on only very special occasions. He made his last trip to see Anna the fall before she died. These so-called golden years are not kind to him, but he still does his own housekeeping, drives short distances around town, and even plants a small garden. And he still has his good sense of humor. Claude and I visited him last summer. I write to him occasionally, have sent him clippings which have appeared in the local papers about the children's park. He always replies promptly by typing on a postcard. He used to include jokes, which he doesn't anymore. I miss them. The Smiths and the Fairs would be pleased if they could see what has been accomplished here. You've been a great family, and thanks again for doing what you have. Please keep up the good work. I must end by saying that Anna had the reputation of never being late. If anyone went with her, they had better be ready to leave when she did. Claude and I went to her funeral in Clarkston. We were visiting with Fred at his home before the funeral when he jumped out of his chair and said, "Let's get to the cemetery. We'd better not be late for Anna." The hour was set for 2 o'clock. Fred's fishing buddy was there, a few close friends and neighbors, the minister, Claude and I. We waited and we waited, with 2 o'clock approaching. Fred said, "Don't tell me." Oh, very appropriate, isn't it? I have to add to that she was thrilled when the eagle was eating something down here by the creek. She said, even if it's one of her ducks. Thank you. Well, anyway, Fred said, "Don't tell me she's going to be late for her own funeral." That I can't believe. At 2, the hearse pulled in. Fred sighed, "Thank goodness, but I bet she has been giving the driver a bad time." With due respect to Anna, who was a wonderful person, we couldn't help but laugh. Claude said to me, "You're not going to read that, are you?" I'm darn lucky I did. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, John. Good morning. Thank you all for being here. It's a great pleasure. It's my privilege to be a part of this dedication. I was here last summer and walked over the park and watched the Master Gardeners with their demonstration project and was totally thrilled. They have a small children's area there where the children will be going through and doing different things. Truly, it's a children's park, but I think we adults will be able to enjoy it also, and I certainly hope we do. We've had a big thrill just seeing the eagle, the bald eagles this morning. John, I would like to present a plaque to you. Really, John Horsley should be up here. This is his neighborhood. He lives in it. His family home is next door, and I'm sure that he's been on this property in the years that he's grown up, and his children too. But on behalf of the county commissioners, I would like to present to the Kiwanis Club a plaque called the Friend of the Parks in appreciation of the Central Kitsap Kiwanis Club, which has generously contributed toward the establishment of the Anna Smith Children's Park, April 22nd, 1989. Will you accept this for the Kiwanis, please? Now, if you'll bear with us, I would like to have Larry Cody, our Parks Director, who is the one that actually designed the park and put this together. His whole heart and blood, sweat, and tears has gone into this, and he's very proud of it. And Larry, would you come up and say a few words and tell us some of the things that you've accomplished here? Thank you. This is the young man that does all the work here.
That's not true. The community did all the work. I really have waited for this day for a long time. It's been a lot of work by the community, a lot of meetings. I have special thanks for the Central Kitsap Kiwanis Club and their efforts in getting this park off the ground and established and organizing numerous volunteers and donations and you name it. They were instrumental in getting the community and the citizens involved in this project. I really thank them tremendously. There's so many people, I can't mention them all. I'd like to thank the Master Gardeners for their fine garden over here, and I invite you all to take a good look at that as it starts to bloom and come into production. I'd like to thank all the Eagle Scouts that were involved in establishing this park. They had a tremendous amount of effort in different phases of this park project. I would like to thank the Department of Natural Resources for making a wise choice in
awarding us a small grant to help us get this park established. Out of about 5 projects statewide, I think it was the first year that this grant was offered by the state, and this project came in number 2 out of, I think, only 5 or 6 projects awarded statewide. So we're pretty proud of that. I'd like to thank the county commissioners for their faith and support in this project. I'd like to thank the caretakers for their patience, Tom and Linda Dudzik, for having patience in all the construction that was going on down here. So many things. I don't know if everyone knows how many volunteers or what they did, but the pond was built by volunteers, the fence, the garden, the trails, the picnic tables, the kiosk behind me. This was all volunteers. I would, however, like to thank my park workers for a last-minute blood, sweat, and tear effort for helping out and getting this off the ground also. Lastly, I'd like to invite all the citizens of this community to contribute in the future to making this a happy place for children. Thank you very much.
Today, we always believe that we do it, but even in the face of getting things done and seeing all the large projects we had to do, we kept believing, and that's why we're here today. On that note, I'd like to present some awards to the different individuals that have contributed their time and efforts into the development of this park. I must say, we kind of taxed Kiwanis International. We did not receive enough of the official awards so that everybody would have them. They're nice certificates. And I'll read what the inscription that is on them. It says, Certificate of Recognition for your help with the Anna F. Smith Children's Park. And then it says presented to, and then the individual, and then it's signed by the president and the chairman of the park. So there's about 30 different organizations, people, individuals, etc., that have contributed their efforts. And what I'd like to do is, we have some of these recognition certificates, but then I also have some other certificates that we'll give out and mail the official ones later. And I noticed that I left my list over here, so if you'll excuse me for 1 minute.
All our morning meetings are like this.
Yeah, what I'd like to say is we try to recognize every individual that has contributed. Over 4 years have gone into the, how many times are we going to hear that? A long time has gone into the development of this, and it's possible that we did not get everybody's name on our list. If this has happened to you, please let me know. Please let me know. Okay. I'm going to name the association or individual, and if they are here, please come up. And if you'd like to say something, please take this opportunity to say something. I will call your name and identify the project you worked on. So this is for you. If you'd like to say something, please take that opportunity. Okay, is there anybody here from the Kitsap County Conservation District? Bob Wilterwood or Chris Tiffany? Okay. This, Bob? Okay. Bob, on behalf of the Kiwanis Club, we thank you for your efforts in the development of Anna F. Smith Children's Park. If you'd like to say something, thank you very much. They're all going to give me heck. for this. I didn't tell them that I was going to do it. So we do, we kind of gave ourselves an award too, in that we have a piece of canvas that's 11 by 14, and every member of the Kiwanis Club has signed this piece of canvas, and it will be framed, and we have a beautiful plaque to go on it, and this will be hung and displayed at our meeting place, which is at All-Star Lanes. So if you're ever in All-Star Lanes, you look up on the wall and you see this frame with all these names on it, that's for recognizing the individuals from the Kiwanis Club that helped build this park. What I'd like to do now, in closing, is have all the children in the crowd come over to the bridge. We're going to have a ribbon cutting, and then the park will be officially open. So all the children, please come over.
Close. Okay, you guys can put your hand on my hand. Okay, go ahead. Everybody can put their hand on my hand. Cut the ribbon. Okay. Everybody get in? Everybody get in? Open this park in the name of children. Thank you. That's it, the park.